First Contact and Deception. Admiral Helena Chen watched the massive holographic display from the bridge of the EDS Vigilant, her expression carefully neutral as the Hegemony delegation's ornate vessel approached Earth's orbital defense perimeter. The ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, all sweeping curves and gleaming iridescent metal that seemed to ripple in the starlight. "Quite the showpiece they've sent us," remarked Captain James Rodriguez, her second in command. "Though I notice it's more art than armor." Helena allowed herself a small smile. The Hegemony's tendency toward dramatic displays of technological superiority was well documented in the intelligence briefings they'd received since first contact 6 months ago. The alien confederation controlled nearly 1,000 star systems and hadn't faced a serious military challenge in over 3 centuries. "Incoming transmission from the Hegemony vessel," announced Lieutenant Sarah Wong from her communications station. "They're requesting permission to dock with Gateway Station." "Grant them clearance," Helena ordered. "And make sure our modest defensive screen is clearly visible." The Earth Defense Fleet had carefully positioned its oldest and most basic ships for this meeting. Vessels that would appear primitive to the Hegemony's advanced sensors. Conventional fusion drives, basic particle shields, and minimal weapons systems. It was all part of the plan. The Hegemony ship glided past the perimeter with casual grace, its pilot barely acknowledging the Earth vessels. Helena could almost feel the aliens' dismissive attitude radiating through space. To them, humanity was barely more than a curiosity, a young species that had only achieved faster-than-light travel in the last decade. If only they knew what lay hidden in the asteroid fields beyond Neptune. The meeting aboard Gateway Station went exactly as predicted. Ambassador Excelthor of the Hegemony, a tall humanoid with silvery skin and 4 arms, delivered his message with perfectly diplomatic condescension. "The Hegemony Council has reviewed Earth's petition for associate membership," he announced to the assembled human delegation. "While we appreciate humanity's enthusiasm, we feel your species requires additional development before full integration into galactic society can be considered." Helena sat silently among Earth's representatives as Selthor outlined the Hegemony's generous offer. They would establish a protectorate over Earth, providing guidance and oversight to help humanity advance. In return, Earth would only need to accept Hegemony military bases in the solar system and agree to exclusive trade agreements with Hegemony-approved partners. "We understand this may seem restrictive," Selthor continued smoothly, "but history has shown that young species often require a firm hand to prevent them from misusing advanced technology. The Hegemony has overseen the development of dozens of civilizations. This is truly in humanity's best interest." Earth's chief diplomat, Dr. Maria Santos, played her role perfectly, expressing disappointment but careful acceptance of humanity's limitations. The meeting concluded with preliminary agreements to begin establishing a Hegemony presence in the solar system within the next standard year. As the alien delegation departed, Helena received an encrypted quantum transmission from Fleet Admiral Zhang back on Earth. "Operation Shadow Shield is go. Commence Phase 2. Later that night, Helena stood in her private quarters aboard the Vigilant, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The door chimed, and Captain Rodriguez entered with a secure datapad. "Latest intelligence from our deep space probes," he reported. "The Hegemony is already mobilizing their integration fleet. 15 capital ships, at least 40 support vessels. They're not wasting any time." Helena nodded. "They want to establish military superiority before we have any chance to reconsider their generous offer. Standard procedure for them. Overwhelm any potential resistance with a show of force." "The asteroid belt facilities are ready?" Rodriguez asked. "The last shipyard came online last week. Production is at full capacity." Helena pulled up a classified display showing the true extent of Earth's military preparations. "The Hegemony thinks we've barely mastered basic FTL drives. They have no idea we've had quantum fold technology for the past 5 years." While the Hegemony had watched Earth's official military development with smug superiority, Humanity had been busy. Hidden shipyards deep in the asteroid belt had been churning out vessels equipped with revolutionary technology that the aliens had never conceived of. The quantum fold drive was just the beginning. 3 more months, Helena said quietly. That's all we need to complete the fleet. Then we'll show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Rodriguez studied the classified chip designs. They won't know what hit them. The quantum fold drives alone will completely change the nature of space combat. They've gotten too comfortable with their technological superiority. That's their weakness, Helena agreed. They've stopped innovating, stopped adapting. They think they've reached the pinnacle of military technology, and that assumption is going to cost them dearly. A priority alert flashed on her display. Another hegemony scout ship had entered the solar system. Helena watched its arrival with grim satisfaction. Let them come. Let them gather their intelligence and draw their conclusions about Earth's capabilities. The truth would remain hidden until the moment humanity chose to reveal it. The real work was happening far from prying eyes. In secret facilities throughout the solar system, humanity prepared for the coming confrontation. Not out of aggression or conquest, but because history had shown time and again what happened to species that accepted the hegemony's protection. Helena thought of the refugee scientists who had escaped other protectorate worlds, bringing warnings about what lay beneath the hegemony's benevolent facade. The systematic exploitation of resources, the suppression of technological development, the subtle but inexorable erosion of sovereignty. Not Earth, not humanity. They would be ready when the hegemony integration fleet arrived. Send word to all hidden facilities, Helena ordered. Accelerate production schedules. I want every ship combat ready within 10 weeks. The engineers won't be happy, Rodriguez noted. They're already pushing the safety margins. They'll manage. They have to. Helena's expression hardened as she watched another ornate hegemony vessel slip into orbit around Earth. The clock is ticking, and we only get one chance to show the galaxy that humanity won't be controlled. The hidden fleet, deep within the Kuiper Belt, in a region of space carefully shielded from long-range sensors, Fleet Commander Sarah Chen watched as another quantum fold vessel emerged from its construction cradle. The EDS Defiant was a masterpiece of human engineering, sleek, deadly, and completely invisible to conventional detection systems. Final systems check complete, reported Chief Engineer Patel through the command center's comm system. Quantum core is stable. Weapon systems are green across the board. She's ready for active duty. Sarah allowed herself a moment of pride as she studied the vessel's specifications. The Defiant-class destroyers represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, ships that could manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself. While the hegemony relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, Earth had pursued a different path. Move her into formation with Battle Group Echo, Sarah ordered, and show me the latest intelligence from the inner system. The holographic display shifted, showing the growing hegemony presence around Earth. More ships arrived daily, massive dreadnoughts and support vessels, all bristling with weapons that would have seemed godlike to humanity just a decade ago. The aliens made no attempt to hide their military buildup. Why should they? As far as they knew, Earth was helpless. Message from Admiral Chen, her communications officer announced. The hegemony has moved up their timetable. They're planning to begin their integration next week. Sarah's expression hardened. Sooner than expected. Status of the fleet: 87 vessels combat ready. Another 23 will be operational within 3 days. The remaining 30 are still in final assembly. It would have to be enough. Sarah opened a secure channel to all hidden facilities throughout the solar system. This is Fleet Commander Chen. Initiate Operation Midnight Sun. I repeat, Operation Midnight Sun is now active. Throughout the Kuiper Belt, asteroid bases, and hidden lunar facilities, humanity's real military force sprang into action. Ships that had never appeared on any official record moved into predetermined positions. Weapon systems that the hegemony had never encountered powered up. The trap was almost ready. In her private quarters later that night, Sarah reviewed the final battle plans with her senior staff. Colonel Marcus Williams, her tactical officer, highlighted key strategic positions on the holographic display. The Hegemony fleet is concentrating here, in high Earth orbit, he explained. Their standard formation, capital ships in the center, support vessels in a defensive screen. They're positioning themselves to completely dominate the orbital space. And they're completely unaware of our quantum fold capabilities, asked Captain Rivera, Sarah's second in command. Completely. Marcus smiled grimly. Their sensors can't detect the quantum signature of our drives. As far as they're concerned, we're still using primitive fusion technology. The ability to instantly relocate ships through quantum space isn't even theoretically possible according to their understanding of physics. Sarah studied the Hegemony fleet positions. Their overconfidence is our greatest advantage. They'll expect any resistance to come from conventional forces around Earth. They won't be looking for threats from the outer system. The quantum fold drives give us total tactical surprise, Marcus continued. We can position our entire fleet within strike range without them detecting a single ship. By the time they realize what's happening, it'll be too late. And the new weapon systems? Sarah asked. Captain Rivera pulled up the classified specifications. The quantum disruptors have exceeded all test parameters. One hit will completely destabilize their shield harmonics. Their defensive systems have no countermeasures for attacks at the quantum level. Sarah nodded slowly. Everything they had worked for over the past 5 years came down to this moment. The Hegemony thought they were dealing with a primitive species barely worthy of notice. That assumption was about to cost them dearly. A priority alert flashed across her display. Admiral Chen requesting a secure quantum communication. Sarah dismissed her staff and accepted the transmission. The Hegemony ambassador just delivered their final terms. Helena's holographic image reported. They're not even bothering to maintain the pretense of diplomacy anymore. Either we accept their complete military occupation of the solar system, or they'll take it by force. They're that confident. They don't believe we have any choice. Helena's expression was grim. Their fleet commander made it clear, either we submit willingly, or they'll demonstrate exactly why the Hegemony has ruled this sector for 3 centuries. How much longer do we need to maintain the deception? 24 hours. That's how long they've given us to reconsider our position. After that, they intend to begin their occupation, whether we agree or not. Sarah checked the status of her battle groups. We'll be ready. The entire fleet will be in position within 18 hours. Good. Helena paused. The Hegemony commander said something interesting during the meeting. He mentioned that they've dealt with primitive species who thought they could resist before. The way he said it, Sarah, I don't think we're the first civilization to try fighting back. But we'll be the first to succeed, Sarah said firmly. The others didn't have our advantages. They didn't spend years preparing while purposely appearing weak. And they didn't have quantum fold technology. Just be careful. Overconfident or not, the Hegemony didn't build their empire by being foolish. If anything goes wrong, it won't. Sarah's voice was steel. We've planned for every contingency. The moment they move to take control of Earth orbit, they'll find themselves surrounded by ships they never knew existed. And then they'll learn exactly what humanity is capable of. As the transmission ended, Sarah returned to the command center. Throughout the hidden fleet, final preparations were underway. Weapon systems were checked and rechecked. Battle plans were reviewed. Quantum fold drives hummed with restrained power. The Hegemony thought they were coming to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they were about to face the most devastating military defeat in their 3-century history, and the galaxy would never be the same. Breaking the chains. The Hegemony flagship Eternal Dominion hung in high Earth orbit like a gleaming sword of Damocles. Supreme Commander Vexthor stood on his command deck, watching the primitive human vessels scatter before his fleet's advance. Their attempts at resistance were almost embarrassing. Fusion-powered ships with basic particle weapons trying to maintain a defensive screen around their homeworld. "Final status report," he commanded. "All battle groups in position." His first officer replied. "The humans have concentrated their defensive forces around their major orbital installations. Pathetic, really. They don't even have enough ships to cover their southern hemisphere properly." Vexthor's forearms moved in a gesture of dismissal. "Send the final warning. Once their deadline expires, begin the occupation. Use whatever force necessary to secure their orbital infrastructure." On Earth's moon, hidden deep within a crater that didn't appear on any official maps, Admiral Helena Chen received the Hegemony's transmission. She allowed herself a small smile as she opened a secure quantum channel to Fleet Commander Sarah Chen. "They've taken the bait. All Hegemony forces are concentrated in high orbit, exactly where we want them." "Battle groups report ready," Sarah responded. "Quantum fold drives spooled and locked on predetermined coordinates, waiting for your command." Helena turned to her tactical display, watching the Hegemony fleet spread out in their standard attack formation. Centuries of unchallenged supremacy had made them predictable. They never expected an enemy to strike from anywhere except directly ahead. "All Earth defense forces, execute Protocol Omega," Helena ordered. "Fall back to secondary positions. Make it look convincing." Throughout Earth orbit, the visible human fleet began a fighting retreat. Hegemony sensors registered energy signatures consistent with straining engines and overtaxed shields, exactly what they expected from inferior technology. Supreme Commander Vexthor watched with satisfaction as the human ships withdrew. "Begin the first phase. Secure their primary orbital stations." The Hegemony fleet started to advance. That's when Helena gave the order that would change the course of galactic history. "Operation Midnight Sun is now active. All hidden fleet elements, execute quantum fold jump on my mark." Deep in the Kuiper belt, Sarah Chen stood on her command deck as energy coursed through the quantum fold drive. "All ships prepare for synchronized jump. Weapons free. Combat protocols engage. 3, 2, 1. Execute." Reality twisted. Space itself seemed to fold and ripple as over 100 warships suddenly appeared around the Hegemony fleet. Not from normal space, not from hyperspace, but from quantum space itself, appearing simultaneously at precisely calculated points to surround the alien armada. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, alarms screamed as sensors detected the impossible. Ships materializing from nowhere, their energy signatures unlike anything in the Hegemony database. Multiple hostile contacts. Vexthor's sensor officer shouted. "They're everywhere, completely surrounding our formation." "Impossible," Vexthor snarled. "Nothing could have approached without detection. Where did they come from?" The answer came in the form of concentrated weapons fire as Earth's hidden fleet opened up with their quantum disruptors. Beams of coherent energy struck Hegemony shields, not to batter them down with brute force, but to unravel them at the quantum level. Shields failing. The panic in his officer's voice was unmistakable. "The energy signatures. They're attacking our shield harmonics directly. We have no defense against this." Vexthor watched in horror as his supposedly invincible fleet began to come apart. Human vessels danced through his formation with impossible agility, their quantum fold drives letting them jump instantly between attacking positions. Traditional space combat tactics meant nothing against an enemy that could simply ignore the laws of physics as the Hegemony understood them. "All ships, return fire," he ordered. "Launch fighters. Deploy all weapon systems." But the Hegemony's advanced energy weapons and fighter squadrons found themselves shooting at empty space as the human vessel's quantum shifted away from every attack. It was like trying to fight ghosts. Enemies that could appear anywhere, strike with devastating force, and vanish before you could respond. On her command ship, Sarah Chen directed the battle with cold precision. "Battle Group Alpha, quantum shift to Sector 7. Battle Group Beta, prepare to engage their flagship. Remember your training. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to lock weapons." The Eternal Dominion shuddered as another quantum disruptor blast tore through its weakening shields. Secondary explosions cascaded through its port side as systems failed catastrophically. Supreme Commander, his first officer reported, voice shaking, "We've lost 30% of the fleet. Another 40% report critical damage. We can't fight an enemy like this. They're using technology that shouldn't exist." Vexthor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The greatest fleet in the hegemony, being systematically torn apart by ships that seemed to ignore the very laws of physics. A species they had dismissed as primitive had somehow developed weapons and defenses that made centuries of hegemony military supremacy meaningless. "Send the signal," he ordered quietly. "All ships, retreat. Full withdrawal from the Earth system." The remnants of the hegemony fleet turned to flee, their formation in shambles. But even in retreat, they found themselves harried by quantum-jumping human vessels that seemed to predict their every move. "Should we pursue?" Sarah asked Admiral Chen over their quantum link. "Negative. Let them run." Helena's voice was firm. "They need to survive to deliver our message. The age of hegemony dominance is over. Earth will not bow to their empire." As the broken hegemony fleet limped away into hyperspace, Helena opened a channel to all Earth forces. "All ships, stand down to Condition 2. Well done, everyone. Today we've shown the galaxy that humanity will never be subjugated. And this is just the beginning." The battle was over, but its repercussions would echo through the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity had not just defeated a hegemony fleet. They had shattered the myth of alien technological superiority forever. The counterstrike. News of the hegemony fleet's devastating defeat spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. In the great halls of the hegemony Central Command on Axis Prime, the ruling council gathered for an emergency session. The recordings from the Earth battle played on massive holographic displays, showing their mighty warships being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will. "This is impossible," High Counselor Zarkax declared, his silver scales reflecting the harsh light. "No primitive species could have developed such technology in secret. They must have had help." But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had not only developed quantum-fold technology independently, they had weaponized it in ways the hegemony had never imagined possible. And now, as the Council argued, Earth was taking the initiative. Admiral Helena Chen stood on the bridge of the EDS Vigilant, now upgraded with the latest quantum systems, as she reviewed the status of Operation Starburst. Following their victory in Earth orbit, humanity had no intention of simply defending their solar system. The time had come to break the hegemony's grip on the galaxy. "Status report on the Liberation Fleet," she commanded. "All ships in position," Captain Rodriguez responded. "The hegemony still hasn't developed any effective countermeasures against our quantum fold drives. Their patrol fleets are completely blind to our movements." Helena nodded. In the month since their first victory, Earth's hidden shipyards had worked around the clock, producing more vessels equipped with quantum technology. But their real advantage came from an unexpected source: the oppressed worlds of the hegemony protectorate. "Message from the Centauri Resistance," Lieutenant Wong announced. "Their underground movement is ready. They're waiting for our signal to begin the uprising." Similar reports came in from dozens of worlds, species that had lived under hegemony protection for generations, watching their development deliberately stunted, their resources exploited. Earth's victory had shown them that resistance was possible. "Begin Phase 1, Helena ordered. "All battle groups, execute quantum jumps according to plan." Throughout hegemony space, Earth's fleet appeared simultaneously at key strategic positions. Patrol bases, shipyards, and command centers found themselves suddenly surrounded by vessels that materialized from quantum space. The hegemony's carefully maintained defensive network, designed to stop conventional attacks, was completely useless. On Centauri Prime, resistance fighters emerged from hiding as Earth's ships quantum jumped into orbit, neutralizing the hegemony garrison before they could even raise their shields. Similar scenes played out across the sector as centuries of oppression finally boiled over. Multiple hegemony fleets are mobilizing. Rodriguez reported. They're trying to respond, but they can't predict where we'll strike next. Our quantum fold drives let us hit them faster than they can react. Helena watched as another status update came in. The Proxima shipyards have been secured. Local resistance forces are already taking control of the facilities. She allowed herself a small smile. Send the signal to begin Phase 2. The true genius of Earth's strategy wasn't just military, it was diplomatic. Every liberated world was offered access to quantum fold technology, but with a condition. They had to agree to join the new alliance of free worlds, with Earth as a founding member. No more empires, no more protectorates, just mutual defense and cooperative development. In the Hegemony Council chambers, panic was setting in. Reports of uprisings and Earth fleet attacks came in faster than they could process them. Their careful system of control was unraveling. "We must negotiate," one counselor shouted. "They're liberating our protectorate worlds one by one. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." But it was already too late. The Hegemony had spent centuries ensuring none of their subject worlds could develop advanced technology. Now those same worlds were rallying behind Earth, eager to claim the freedom they had been denied for so long. On the newly liberated world of Proxima II, Helena met with representatives from 24 former protectorate species. The meeting room was a stark contrast to the ornate chambers of the Hegemony. Practical, functional, and focused on results. "Earth offers you not just freedom, but partnership," she declared to the assembled delegates. "We've all seen what the Hegemony's protection really means. Together, we can ensure it never happens again." The response was overwhelming. Species that had been bitter rivals under Hegemony rule now found common cause in building something new. Earth's quantum fold technology was just the beginning. Freed from artificial restrictions, these civilizations could finally reach their full potential. "Admiral," Rodriguez called urgently. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple Hegemony battle fleets converging on Axis Prime. They're abandoning their outer territories to concentrate their forces." Helena studied the tactical display. The Hegemony was falling back to their core worlds, trying to preserve what they could of their empire. Let them. The galaxy was changing, and no amount of military force could stop it. "Send word to all Alliance forces," she ordered. "Continue with the liberation operations as planned. The Hegemony can hide behind their walls, but they can't stop what's coming. The age of empires is over." Across the sector, more worlds declared their independence. Earth's quantum fold ships appeared wherever they were needed, supporting uprisings and preventing Hegemony reprisals. A new order was taking shape, not built on domination, but on cooperation and mutual advancement. The counterstrike had become a revolution, and the galaxy would never be the same. A new balance. 6 months after Earth's initial victory, the galaxy had transformed. The gleaming spires of Axis Prime, once the proud capital of the Hegemony, now served a different purpose. In what was formerly the Hegemony High Council chamber, representatives from over 50 species gathered for the first official assembly of the Alliance of Free Worlds. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the observation window, watching ships from dozens of civilizations moving through the orbital lanes. Quantum fold drives were now common sights, as Earth had shared the technology with all Alliance members. But more importantly, she saw vessels of completely new designs, the product of formerly suppressed species finally free to innovate. "Quite a change from your last visit here," Sarah Chen said, joining her sister at the window. The former fleet commander had been instrumental in coordinating the liberation campaign. "The Hegemony never imagined their empire could fall so quickly," Helena replied. "They spent centuries ensuring no single species could challenge them. They never considered that we might all work together." Below them, the Alliance Assembly was debating the final details of their charter. The principles were simple but revolutionary: mutual defense, shared technological development, and absolute prohibition of any attempt to dominate or suppress other civilizations. "Message from the Hegemony Remnant," Admiral Captain Rodriguez reported, approaching with a datapad. They're finally ready to formally surrender their remaining territories. The mighty empire had been reduced to a handful of core worlds. Most of their former subjects had eagerly joined the alliance, bringing with them centuries of suppressed innovations and ideas. The galaxy was experiencing an unprecedented boom of technological and cultural exchange. Their surrender comes with a request. Rodriguez continued. They want to join the alliance as equals. Helena studied the document thoughtfully, forwarded it to the assembly. This isn't just Earth's decision anymore. That was perhaps the most significant change. Earth, despite its crucial role in overthrowing the hegemony, had deliberately avoided taking a dominant position. The alliance operated on consensus, with every member having an equal voice. Admiral, a melodic voice called. Helena turned to see Ambassador K'tal of the Centauri approaching. The former resistance leader had become one of the alliance's most passionate advocates. The assembly is ready for your address. Helena nodded and made her way to the speaker's podium. Looking out over the gathered representatives, some humanoid, some utterly alien, all now equals, she felt the weight of the moment. 6 months ago, she began, Earth stood alone against an empire that had dominated this galaxy for centuries. We won that battle not just because of advanced technology, but because we recognized a fundamental truth. True strength comes from cooperation, not subjugation. The chamber was silent, all attention focused on her words. The hegemony's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating Earth's ships. It was believing that progress could be controlled, that species could be kept weak through artificial limitations. They never understood that diversity, of thought, of culture, of approach, is the greatest source of innovation. She gestured to the massive window showing the bustling space lanes. Look what we've achieved in just 6 months of freedom. The Proxima Collective has revolutionized energy generation. The Centauri have made breakthroughs in medical science that the hegemony deemed too advanced for them. The Rigelians have shown us ways of environmental restoration we never imagined possible. And now, she continued, we face our greatest test. The former hegemony worlds seek to join our alliance. Some would say we should reject them, make them suffer as they made others suffer. But that would make us no better than they were. The alliance stands for a different principle, that any civilization willing to respect others' rights to grow and develop deserves the same respect in return. The assembly erupted in discussion. Helena waited patiently as the debate played out. This was how it should be. Decisions made through dialogue, not decree. Finally, the votes were tallied. By a clear majority, the assembly voted to accept the former hegemony worlds into the alliance, under the same terms as all other members. Later that evening, Helena stood in her quarters aboard the Vigilant, preparing to return to Earth. The ship's quantum fold drive hummed softly, a sound that had become familiar throughout the galaxy. So what now? Sarah asked, joining her for a final conversation before departing for her own command. Now comes the hard part, Helena replied. Building something new is always more challenging than tearing down the old. But for the first time in centuries, species aren't facing these challenges alone. She looked out at the stars, not as distant points of light, but as homes to civilizations now united in purpose. The hegemony thought they could keep the galaxy under control by keeping species divided and weak. Instead, they created the conditions for the greatest cooperation in known history. She smiled. Sometimes the best victories are the ones your enemy never sees coming. As the Vigilant prepared for its quantum fold jump back to Earth, Helena reflected on how far they'd come. The galaxy had changed not just politically or technologically, but philosophically. The age of empires was over. The age of collaboration had begun. And somewhere out there, other young civilizations were looking up at the stars, dreaming of joining this new community of equals. When they were ready, the alliance would be waiting, not to control or suppress, but to welcome them as partners in humanity's greatest adventure. The stars beckoned, and this time, everyone was free to answer their call.